What's going on, guys? Welcome to today's video. So today we're going to be doing a full build breakdown on my 2000 Lexus LS400. Now, I bought the car almost 2 years ago now, and I didn't actually start building it until February of this year. So February of 2019, we started working on the car, and it's come a long way since then. But this is kind of the first time that it's been full altogether. And it won't stay this way for very long. I still have further plans, but today we're gonna go over all of the modifications that are done to the car, why I did them, and then towards the end of the video we're gonna talk about the future plans for the car. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so before we go fully in depth and talk about all of the actual parts that are on the car and all of the things that I've done to it, figured we should probably go over some of the reasons why I bought this car specifically, and my actual kind of vision with it before I started. So I would assume that if you're on this video, you already know a little bit about the Lexus LS400, but if you didn't, it comes with the 1UZ motor, which is the 4-litre V8. It's one of the most reliable motors of all time, at least in my opinion. There is very little that you need to do to them for them to just run forever. Obviously, most of you guys will know Matt Farah has one that's driven over 1 million miles, and the motor has never been opened or rebuilt or anything. They're pretty badass, and that was one of the main selling points for this car, was that I wanted something that I could go all out on and do a bunch of crazy stuff, but leave the motor alone and be able to drive it wherever I like without any issues, really. So my vision before building this car was that I wanted something that I could basically take anywhere. It wasn't super in your face. It's very low key, and really staying true to the roots of VIP culture. For those of you guys that don't know, VIP cars come from, I believe it was like back in the late 80s or early 90s, the Yakuza, which is kind of the Japanese mafia, were running into issues with the police where they'd have all these flashy sports cars and whatnot, and they'd be very easy to spot by police. They decided to start buying big luxury sedans in, most of the time, dark colors to stay very under the radar. And they would still modify them, they'd lower them, put some wheels on them, dark tints, etc. But they were never super in your face. They're never supposed to be crazy loud or grab your attention. They're supposed to have their own style on them, but they're not supposed to be in your face. So for me, I was just trying to keep this thing as inconspicuous as possible, but at the same time still have that really cool style luxury sedan that is very Japan influenced. All right, so first thing I should mention, the car is on air suspension. The management that I run is Airlift. I run the 3H system, although right now it is just a 3P system because if you guys have been following the videos, I couldn't manage to get the height sensors to work just yet. Still need to go back in and fix those, but right now I'm stuck dailying the car because I blew up my daily. So airlift management, and then the bags are the D2 Racing Struts. Originally it was just, whatever came from D2 Racing. Decided to mix it up a little bit. The rears are still the same regular double bellows, and then the fronts I did slim double bellows. The reason for that is, one, I needed the extra clearance. And two, they ride stiffer, which allows me to have a lower ride height and not run into so many issues. But the cons of those are that they require a lot of pressure to raise the car up. This car doesn't lift in the front until about 80 or 90 PSI. My low ride height's about 120 PSI, and then my regular drive height's like 140. They ride fantastic, they're stiff, and it definitely allowed me to be able to drive the car pretty low. Okay, so I'm going to go over all of the other suspension components. We'll start off with the rear end. So I'm running the Godspeed Camber arms, and then the Godspeed Traction arms, and then the toe arms are Megan Racing. Now these are the cheap options. So the only other companies that I'm aware of that make suspension components for these cars is SerialNine or T-Demand. SerialNine is a US-based company. I love them and I fully support their products. Their customer service is amazing, but their parts are considerably more expensive. We're not even going to get into T-Demand because their products are insanely expensive and they're Japan-based. But the cheap option for the rear being the Megan or the Godspeed. Is there anything wrong with them? No, not at all. They actually have more adjustment than the SerialNine ones. They come in at like $100 a piece. So, you know, you can have traction, toe, camber in the rear for 300 bucks. Really can't complain with that. I've had zero issues with these on here, and I'm not gonna pay $300 a piece just to have the name brand on there because it's cool. As much as I love SerialNine, I went with the cheap option because, well, it's all I needed really. And then other than that, in the rear, I still have the stock upper control arm. I was planning to do a SerialNine upper, but I needed extra clearance when I got these wheels, which I'll talk about in a minute when we go over those. So for that extra clearance, I decided to get the Youzeland SS kit, which if you don't know what that is, it's essentially like a roll center adjuster for the rear, but not really. It basically takes where the bottom of the strut is mounted and relocates it further back and lower down. So I was able to get the car lower in the rear. That's why it tucks this way, and then it gave me that extra clearance that I needed for the barrel of the wheel. Now, these kits are extremely hard to come across. They don't pop up for sale very often. They are discontinued, along with most of the stuff that you will try and find for these cars. But I got lucky in that I found a friend selling one because the SerialNine uppers are not compatible with the SS kit at the same time. And so my buddy got SerialNine uppers and he decided that he would rather have those than the SS kit, so he sold it to me. All right, so the front suspension, I have just the SerialNine upper control arms in the front. SerialNine and T-Demand are about the only companies that make upper control arms for these cars. SerialNine ones come in at right around $600. Relatively expensive, but they're worth the money. They're fully adjustable. They give you from -4 to -12 degrees of camber. I run -8 degrees of camber all the way around on the car. I do also have the SerialNine roll center adjusters. They're just not on the car. I am waiting to do the shortened spindles right now. For everybody that is wondering why I haven't done shortened spindles thus far, it's because all of the times that I've done something with the car, I have needed to drive it within a short period of doing something. And doing shortened spindles is going to throw off the whole front geometry of the suspension. So it would require me to probably put in a lot more time to get it figured out, and I may have to buy other parts to get it to the specs that I want, such as a negative roll center or something like that. But it is something that I need to do soon. That is the reason that the car does not lay out flat on the ground, is because right now it sits on the strut tower at the top. So once I have those done, I'm hoping that this should tuck just that a little bit harder in the front, maybe not as hard as the rear, but it would be nice if I could get this front bumper to lay out on the ground. All right, let's talk some of the exciting shit. These wheels. Now, these are the VIP Modular VXS310s. My all-time favorite wheel is actually the VXS610s. But these popped up for an unbelievable deal used, and it wasn't something that I ever expected to obtain, at least not in the time frame that I did. Originally, I saw these posted for $2,500, and I remember sharing the post and being like, somebody jump on this is a crazy deal. I wasn't in a position then to buy the wheels, and I was also like, the specs aren't exactly where I want them, I won't worry about it. Now, a few months down the line, I end up coming across these again, and at that time, I was actively looking for wheels. But this time they were posted for $1,700. And so I really just couldn't turn down the deal. We talked it out and ended up doing 1,800 shipped from Nebraska here to Kentucky. And I'm mind blown. I cannot get over that I got these wheels for that price and that I own these and that they're on my car. People are paying that kind of money for shitty spec VSKFs with really terrible condition faces and lips. So definitely not complaining. All right, so I know you're gonna ask, what are the specs? I am not one of those people that's gonna keep my specs secret from the internet. If you wanna replicate the entire build, that is completely up to you. I couldn't give a shit. So the fronts are 19 by 10.5 plus 28. It's not perfect. I do have a 25mm spacer on here, so that puts the offset then at +3. So 10.5 plus 3 minus 8 degrees of camber is how I obtained this fitment. Also, the tires that I run, I have Achilles ATR Sport 2s. I've heard a lot of bad things about the Sport 2s. Everybody loves the Sport 1s, but they're discontinued. The Sport 2s are just as good, if not better. I think that they grip better and they stretch just as easy. I've had zero issues with these. These are a 225, 35, 19 on a 10.5. Moving on to the rears, obviously they're 19 still. They're 19 by 11.5 plus 38. So that is an enormous amount of barrel, and that is why I needed the SS kit. Initially, when I went to fit these wheels at full droop, full sag, they would be fine on clearance, but the moment you dropped the car down just a little bit, the barrel would hit the strut. Which is obviously not what you want. I decided, yes, it's obviously going to need a spacer. All that I had at the time was a 15mm spacer, and I tried to fit them with that, and it wasn't having it. Way too far out. Like it was, like if I aired out, it was going to be fender to lip, which is fine. But that's not what I was going for. So I ended up getting the SS kit, which gave me the clearance that I needed, and I'm able to run these wheels without the spacer and not rub. But I wanted to get better fitment in the rear, so I did end up actually using the 15mm spacer, and it took a lot of delicate shaving and massaging to get this quarter panel thin as possible and then pulling it out just enough so that the fitment is perfect. I pretty much wanted it so that when the car is airing out, it looks like the lip is about to destroy the fender, and then it just slides right past it and tucks up in there, and I have perfectly achieved that. So me saying that the fitment is perfect, I'm referring to this. My drive height is ridiculous. I actually had a video go pretty viral the other day of me recording how close the lip is while I'm driving. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about the aero that I have on the car. Right now it is pretty minimalist. These are just some no-name brand Sideskirts. I bought them used and they had some imperfections and they were cracked, so repaired them a little bit, kind of cracked them again, had them painted, but they look somewhat decent. They're not any kind of real brand skirts from Japan or anything. I do at some point plan to replace these with something else, although for right now they do their job. They're pretty simple, they look good, they don't fit amazing, but that is what it is. Also, obviously I have the front lip on the car. Now this is just a poly front lip. I have a lot of people asking me, where did you get the front lip from? Where can I buy it? Send me a link. I hate to let you guys know, but these are really hard to find now. You used to just be able to go on eBay and find them for like $100. Kind of not the case now. I actually bought this used, it was destroyed. I fixed it, it didn't fit very well, so I panel bonded it onto the bumper. I had planned that I was gonna do full aero from Japan. I was gonna get bumpers and skirts. The problem with this is it takes a long time. It's super expensive, and then it's really hard to find exactly what you're looking for. So as a short-term plan, I was like, okay, let me get you know, whatever skirts and lip I can get my hands on over here and try and modify it in a way that it makes it my own. I decided that I wanted to shave and smooth this bumper. So from the factory, they have this big ugly plate recess for the front plate, which most states in the US, or the good states, don't run front plates. And so there's no point in me having it there. It just looks ugly. It ruins the shape of the car. I decided that I wanted to fill it in and smooth it over, which from the help of my buddy, Naughty Scotty, or not Naughty Scotty, this was able to be smoothed over. It's a very subtle touch. For the most part, people won't even notice this. Anybody that doesn't know LS400s will just walk right past it and never know that there used to be a plate recess there. But honestly, that doesn't matter. For me, it was just something that I wanted to take care of and make sure that it was cleaned up. Now, the other part of shaving the bumper was that there used to be these big ugly side markers. These cars come with big reflectors on the side right here. I decided that those had to go. Those have been smoothed over, and that is basically how I was able to kind of personalize this front bumper, at least until I'm ready to pick up a bumper from Japan. All right, let's talk about the headlights. We started building these about a year and a half ago. You guys may remember a video on the channel, the Q45 retrofit. It turned out that they required a hell of a lot of custom work to get these to fit. For the most part, these headlights are very, very custom made. They had to be sent off to somebody to have them designed in CAD software to make a bracket, which was 3D printed out of metal. So they're very well put together. They're still not 100% perfect yet. I am gonna be sending them off and we're gonna be making some tweaks to how everything is sitting. But as you can tell, Q45 retrofit, so it's the Q45 projectors. These are off of a left-hand drive car, not the right-hand drive one, so that the actual levels sit correctly and they don't blind oncoming traffic. The full beams are the profile minis, I think. Don't quote me on that. I know they're profile. We got those because they kind of look like a mini Q in certain lights. They have halos, but I don't have the right controller for them right now. So I do get a lot of questions from people. Where did you get the headlights from? Send me a link. Where can I buy those headlights? Again, guys, they are custom made. You cannot just go and buy them. There's not a website I can link you to where you can buy these. We can now talk about the corner lights, which is another thing that I get the same question about. You cannot buy these corner lights. They are custom made. They're regular corner lights that were cut apart and then retrofitted by Illumaesthetic, which is the company out in California. They're sequential turn signals, and me personally, I am not a big fan of them. I tried them out and I don't like them at all, really. They're just not clean. Like, they have gaps in the side and the seals are broken, so they get water in them. Just not all that happy with them. Okay, I will quickly mention another thing on the front end of the car. I do have this badgeless chrome grille. It's another thing that people ask me, where did you get that from? This, I got lucky and found it on a random eBay listing in Taiwan. So I don't actually know if it's something that you can buy or if it's readily available. This is just plastic, but it is chrome. It does look very good, and I do love this grille, and I did get pretty lucky to find that. So if you guys do come across that on the internet somewhere as to where you can buy it, please post it in the comments. I'm sure people would love to know. So moving on, sadly, this is the bad side of the car. Now, when I mentioned that the car is not perfect, I was primarily speaking of this side of the car. For some reason, all of the things that can go wrong happened on this side, but I'm kind of happy that it's just on the one side and not the other. So I have one good side and one bad side. So to start off with, I was mentioning that the seals are broken on the corner lights. As you can see right here, the bottom of this light is yellow. So these pretty much stay permanently fogged up like that. So I'm planning to send these off with my headlights. We're going to cut them apart and hopefully reseal them, clean up the entire inside while we're in there, and these may end up getting posted for sale, so keep on the lookout for that if you're looking for some interesting corner lights. They're not perfect, but they are pretty cool, and they do stand out from the regular corner lights. So this fender was fucked up before I did this to it. When we rolled this initially, we didn't cut enough of the tabs out that when we rolled it, it had these dimples in it. And then on the drive down to Daytona, I drove Ed out at 80 miles an hour to get some rollers, which was totally worth it. But the lip did burn through the inside of the fender out. So the paint is all burnt right here, and then it's just kind of like got a bit of a jagged edge to it. That looks pretty bad, but I do really need to pick up some new fenders for this car and just make sure that this time they're rolled properly and everything looks clean. The side skirt right here kind of has this gap. I need to just put a self tapper in it, but haven't gotten around to it. When I was doing the rear fenders, the other side, I had a couple of days to really perfect it. This side, I had about 2 hours to get done before I needed the car completely buttoned back up because I had to drive to Simply Clean the next day. I know I should have planned ahead of time to make sure that I had more time to get it done, but I didn't plan that my daily was gonna blow up that week right before Simply Clean. So from the time that I did have working on this car, it then turned into every night that I'm going to work on it, I have to put it back together at the end of the night, make sure it's good, and drive it to work the next day. Shaving just a little bit too far on this edge, so it's a little bit kind of crispy and funky on that edge there, but this car will be getting fully body worked before it goes to paint, which I will talk about at the end of the video. So I'm not too worried about that. It will get cleaned up. Okay, so moving on to the rear end of the car. This is kind of the part that I'm not a huge fan of, mainly because the rear bumper is stock. There's no lip, or I don't have an aftermarket bumper. Just kind of looks a little bit funky. It's super high off the ground. It almost looks like the car skipped leg day or something. I just hate that you're able to see like so much under the rear end of the car and like the rest of it sits so much lower. So I am actively looking around for a rear lip or a rear bumper. Now, the other reason that I don't have an exhaust on the car other than the stock exhaust is because I didn't want to go through and fabricate a whole exhaust and have it mounted up for the stock bumper like right here, and then get a different bumper and have to remount the exhaust. I have these LED taillights. I don't know the exact brand. They did come from Japan though, so they have, you know, the red, silver, red. The turn signals are the regular bulbs, and then the brake lights are LED. I'm not sure whether I want to go in the direction of doing like full dancing LED tails. I think they're awesome, but at the same time, they're expensive and you can run into a bunch of issues with wiring or LEDs going bad. I don't want to spend all that money and then, you know, have them break or something. I kind of just like that these look a little different and they are reliable. I also have the VIP Modulars plate frame. Now, this is the OG one. The one that came with these wheels was like the slightly newer one, which has their like newer logo. I traded this with my friend Baron because I wanted the OG one because it says VIP in huge. I have applied for a personalized plate with Kentucky because I want the Friends of Cole, the black plate. Still waiting to hear back on that. That'll hopefully make it look a little better. I don't really like the white and blue plate for right now. So this is mirror tint or chrome tint. It's silver, but the side windows and the back window actually from the factory Toyota have a kind of a bronze tint to them. So the side and the rear windows actually look kind of gold with the silver. I'm not mad about that. It does look very Japanese. This tint is 15% all the way around, even on the windshield. It's pretty dark. It's kind of hard to see at night. You can only really see what your headlights light up, but it does look fucking sick. And on overcast days, there is absolutely no chance that anybody can see you inside the car. Okay, so for the most part, that is most of the exterior of the car covered. Now, I'm not going to go into super detail on the interior. There isn't a whole lot done in there. The main things to cover are that I have the influenced VIP curtains. Other things, I have Mode Parfume neck pads. They are not a perfect color match for the beige. I have custom made tray tables that are in a matching wood grain. They are built by Pure Luxury. Their Instagram's on the screen. Give them a follow. The dude, his name is Bobby. He makes some really, really good looking tables. I'm a huge fan of these. We actually had some tables built for the rear seats, but I haven't figured out the best way to mount them yet. Those are still pending, but right now I have the front tray and then the rear center console piece, and I love them. I have this sweet LEP Automotive fucking sticker covering up my airbag that exploded. That's about all for the interior stuff right now. I know that you guys did see my other videos that I had the cool LED lights that run along the top of the windows. I've actually pulled those out now because I wanted to go through and do a better way of installing it. I do get a lot of questions. What lights are those? How did you install them? They are literally just eBay LED strips. Go onto eBay, search LED strips. I got 32 feet of them. And then I got a 12 volt to DC converter, I think, just so that I could plug them in to the 12 volt. The install wasn't all that clean though. The wires obviously weren't tucked, and when I took the car to Simply Clean, during the show, I actually had them unplugged and tried to hide the wires as much as I could, which involved unsticking part of it. And then when I went back to put it back in, like, it didn't stick properly again. Now, the rest of the plans for the interior, I'm hoping soon we're gonna do a full reupholstery on the inside. So it'll be the seats getting reupholstered, little inserts on the door panels, center console piece, and then like floor mats, dash cover, etc. I'm not going to go into detail as to what I'm planning to do with it yet. It will have some diamond stitch in there, obviously, but it's going to be pretty subtle, pretty clean. And then as far as the exterior for future modifications, in the short term, I recently picked up a front bumper. I do have a pretty rare bumper from Japan. I didn't buy it in Japan, but it was originally from Japan. It's in a very bad state right now. It's pretty fucked, but I got it for a really good deal, and I figured that it would be a good winter project to try and restore it and get it looking perfect. Other than that, I don't have anything right now, but I do have big plans. Like I said, I need to find a rear bumper or a lip, need to do the exhaust. I also do plan to get this car into paint. It was on my plan of things to do before now, was to have the car painted, and it just didn't end up working out. Obviously, painting the car is a relatively large process. It's a big thing to commit to. You need to start sanding down and doing the body work. It's a lot. So I'm hoping that hopefully we can get around to doing that. If it's not soon, it will be coming at some point. I'm not going to talk about what color I'm going to paint it. You guys probably won't be able to guess, but I will tell you I am staying two-tone. It will still have two different colors because for some reason I love it. Other little things that need to be done, need to be addressed. Obviously the ugly side, the fenders need to be taken care of. The headlights and the corner lights need to be taken care of. I do want to rebuild these wheels, but I'm kind of stuck in a predicament of whether I should rebuild these wheels, in which case I'll have to buy new barrels and new lips, which can end up costing quite a bit, and I will have then more money into these wheels than they're worth. I'm just not sure right now whether I want to rebuild these or buy a different set of wheels. So for right now, they're going to stay as they are. The fitment and everything is pretty much perfect. I know that I run spacers, and I don't particularly want to. In a perfect world, I would have these built to perfect specs, but it takes money, it takes time. I don't have a whole lot of either of those, so I do at some point really want to do a high radius flare. There comes a point in every build where you've done so much, and if you keep doing stuff, you're going to take it too far and you're going to ruin what you have already. What I have already is it's not perfect, but I do like the way that it is. And I have a lot of sentimental attachment to this car, and I want to make sure that I don't ever overstep what it should be. For instance, you'll see people changing things up every single year because, you know, they're bored with it. Well, if I get bored, I'm going to buy a different car and build that. I want this car to not get too out of hand. I want it to be dope, I want it to be clean, but I really, really don't want it to be like too in your face. It has to stay true to its roots and stay inconspicuous. Okay, so I don't want to drag this video on for too long. I do want to say Merry Christmas, guys. If you're watching this on Christmas Day, thank you for tuning in live as I've uploaded it. I appreciate the ongoing support on the channel and all of the nice comments I receive about the car. That is totally awesome. This car for me is something that I've always wanted to do. For those of you guys that are new, I'm pretty well known for filming cinematic content, and I've kind of lived vicariously through my camera for a good number of years. And it's nice to finally be part of the actual community and have a car. Like I said in the beginning of this video, I do drive this car a lot. I have put over 40,000 miles on it myself, almost 50 now, and I intend to try and keep driving it whenever I can. You should build your car to be able to drive places. I get that some people want to be crazy static and push the boundaries of what's possible, but for me, keeping the car usable somewhat is pretty important. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. I'm gonna end it off right here. Please go and enjoy the rest of your Christmas holidays, and hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up on this video if you liked it, if you liked the car. Feel free to post in the comments your thoughts on the car, and also let me know how this video sounded, because I am actually testing a new microphone setup. It's all wireless and it's transmitting wirelessly through the camera right now. I have a microphone right here, and I want to know what you guys think about the way that it sounds. I'll have an update video coming in the next couple days. I think New Year's Day I'll be posting an update on what the plan is for 2020, what I have going on, and we have some big things happening. Appreciate the continued support, and stay tuned for more content with this car. There will be no shortage of things happening with this thing. Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with it, and you know, hopefully we'll pick up some other projects to work on besides this, but I'm gonna stop talking. It's fucking cold out here. I'm standing out in the cold at like 7 o'clock in the morning. I don't know why I do this. Bye guys.